Well, welcome back YouTube. It is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle at Medium, and in this video for topic of discussion today, and off the back of a demonstration I did on Saturday night with regards to spiritual philosophy, in this video we are going to look at spiritual philosophy, why it's important in mediumship, how it can be done and done well, and how you, through the hints and tips that I can give you, can allow you to do spiritual philosophy or an address that little bit better. So for those who don't know me, I'm Danielle. If you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. If you like the video, like, share and subscribe as always. But what I really want to talk to people about, and something that's very, very important within the mediumship demonstrations, especially on a Sunday service, if you're going to be working in churches across the world, excuse me, or also in the UK, a Sunday service incorporates spiritual philosophy. Now, what is spiritual philosophy? So most of us in the UK, I know abroad it's a little bit different. They call it inspirational talking. But here in the UK, we work on what we call the 7 principles, which is the brotherhood of man, fatherhood of God, personal responsibility, continuous existence of the soul, open to, being able to evolve and keep moving forward. They're just a few of them. Ministry of angels is another one. And we have to incorporate these within the address in which that we do. Now, lots of addresses I see across the country. Now, I've been at watch mediums all over the country, I've got to be honest. A lot of them will talk about themselves, or will talk about a particular song, or nature, or whatever it may be. And while I find that that's okay and that's fine, it doesn't really incorporate the 7 principles. And for me personally, an address should really incorporate one of them 7 principles. For me personally, I think it's important to keep within that religion, keep within that sort of spiritualism, and why we do addresses. Now, addresses are meant to last about 10-15 minutes tops. That's as much as I do, and I've got to be honest, the reason being, people excuse me, will switch off, or they get a little sort of itchy in the seat. They're waiting for the demonstration of mediumship. So keeping it sort of short and sweet but to the point is really, really good. Also incorporating them 7 principles will really be beneficial. And for those who are maybe doing their certificates with the SNU or with other sort of companies or trainers across the world, it's important that you sort of get them 7 principles involved in there, because I know it's something that you're trained on or something that they will look for when you're doing your address. Addresses are one of the biggest nervousest things that lots of people talk to me about, and one thing I hated doing when I first started doing mediumship, I've got to be honest, I love giving messages, I love giving demonstrations of mediumship, but when you come to talk to me about doing a spiritual philosophy, my knees used to knock. I'm not joking, they used to knock like you've got to, because I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I didn't know, where that information was going to come from, like where I was going to be inspired in, like all these types of things. And I used to be absolutely chewed to the death. I've got to be honest with you on that one. But over the years of doing them more, and the fact that I understand the 7 principles a little bit more, plus I understand spiritual philosophy. The reason behind spiritual philosophy, there's a couple of reasons. Healing's one of them. Also because it's on a Sunday service. Sunday services are a lot shorter than long nights and evenings of demonstrations of clairvoyance, mediumship, whatever it may be. You'll have seen them advertised. Sunday service is only about an hour, 15 minutes, maybe 20. And this here is normally taken up with singing, songs, prayers, and then the philosophy itself. So you've only got maybe about 45 minutes to dem, which, going off what the SNU says, 7 to 10 minutes of a demonstration, you're only looking to do about 6-7 messages, which isn't a great deal when you're doing an evening of demonstration where you could be doing anything between 11 to 13, and that's if you're back to back, doing it well. So it's really, really short. So what philosophy does, or what philosophy allows us to do, is to be able to talk to everybody in the room so that everybody takes something away from the night. For them who are on demonstrations of mediumship, it tends to be specifically to the people that are obviously picked out within the room, where philosophy allows us to do the healing and also incorporate a message for everybody. Now, lots of people say, oh, well, they're boring, Danielle, they're boring, they sing lots of songs. And I hear it all the time. And the songs are a little bit old, I suppose, if you they're very churchy, they're very too churchy is the word I could probably use, churchy. But for me personally, there is some really good ones in this. The Little Words of Kindness is one of my favourites, because it's quite an upbeat little song. They're just some of the ones that I like. And for me personally, I tend to stick with the songs that I like because ultimately the what's going to get my congregation going. But when we're doing philosophy really needs to be incorporating this healing, and also making sure that when we do our philosophy, it is for everybody in the room, so everybody gets to take something. Also, when we're doing philosophy, learning to do it, not throwing it out, and having no sort of understanding or no sort of professionalism is really a no-goer. We need to be professional, same as when we're doing demonstrations of mediumship. We sort of need to be confident in how we do it. So all of you must be looking at the screen going, well, how do you do that, Danielle? How do you do that? So the best way for me to get this over to you, the best way to do philosophy, is when I first started out, I don't read off bits of paper. I see a lot of mediums who'll take bits of paper around the rostrum with them, or they'll take a particular poem, or whatever it may be. I don't know what I'm going to talk about until I actually get up and stand at the rostrum. Now, for me personally, what I tend to do is I just move my mind, and I'll go and I'll shout for my guide, which all of you know as Chief. And I'll go, right, Chiefy boy, what we talking about today? And I'll normally get a word. So I might get love, I might get guidance, it may be any word, but normally I'll get one word. Excuse me. And from there, I'll start to talk. So, good evening, everybody. And, I would like to speak for the spirit world this evening. And my guide here has given me the word love. Now, everybody will say love is a different philosophy, right? From there, I've probably started to get another word in, or I've started to get like a feeling, or I've started to get like a knowing, or I've started to get a bit like building a communication, really, but you're just swapping it over for philosophy. And I tend to find this sort of works really well. Now, lots of people say, well, you should stay on one topic. A bit like when we're doing messages, But you've got to remember, spirit world's full of knowledge. They want to talk about lots of different things. So you may start off with the word love, and before you know it, you might be talking about personal responsibility. And that's just how it goes, because that's the way the spirit world works. They're going to sort of try and talk about lots of different things because they've only got this short window. The same like a bit with communications. So don't worry too much if you're sort of going off on a tangent. And really sometimes going on a tangent is really good. And the reason being because the spirit world sort of taken over. You start let go, and they're sort of talking about what they want to talk about. Best thing to do is not get involved. A bit like the bit like communications, don't get involved if you can help it. Obviously, I know we all have a worry or a fear of not making sense, or people don't get what we're talking about, or these types of things. But you got to learn to trust, in what the spirit world's giving you, and trust in yourself and trust in your guides and things. Also, another way that this could also be benefited, or a way you could make it bigger or better, is to sit with the spirit world. So building that relationship with the guide who's doing your philosophy with you, because ultimately building this relationship is not only beneficial to your spiritual philosophy, but it's also going to be good for your demonstrations of mediumship or when you're doing your communications. I talk about this so much on the page here, or so much on this YouTube channel, you're probably sick of hearing me going on about it. But, it's really vitally important that we, get these guides in place, and we, because they're full of, hints and tips are full of knowledge, and they're really good for all these types of things that we need to do when we're doing mediumship, or when we're doing addresses. Now, when we talk about certain hymns or certain songs, a little trick I used to have, so I used to say to my guides, what numbers? Because we have to pick 3 songs. So I used to say what numbers, and I used to get out of now 36 or 154 or number 2, and I used to just go with them hymns whether they were my hymns or not. And normally 9 times out of 10 there was they sort of blended in with the spiritual philosophy, which then built into the communication. It should all interlink. So the hymns and the prayer should link in with the spiritual philosophy, which should then link into the communications. Here's something that probably a lot of you don't understand. Spiritual philosophy was actually a lot of what mediumship was built on. It was one of the things that we did very much a lot of when we first started out many years ago, before communications and demonstrations and mediumship took over. Spiritual philosophy was a big thing. It was a big way to be able to allow the spirit world to talk about their intelligence and what they felt was important for us. Also, it was beneficial because everybody in the room took something from it, which was helpful when you were looking for the healing from the spirit world. Unfortunately, I'm seeing less and less of this and more of communication, which is just the way that we've moved. It's just how it's gone. But I still like to hear a good philosophy. I have to be honest with you on that one as a medium, and as, you know, a member of the general public. I do like to hear a good philosophy, especially when it's from the spirit world. Learning to trust in what you get given and talk about them things is really important. So this video has been on spiritual philosophy. So I hope it sort of widened your mindset a little bit there, maybe a little bit different thinking of how spiritual philosophy is and what it may be, because lots of people don't even know what spiritual philosophy or an address or inspirational talks are. This is what they are. So hopefully with a little bit more encouragement and a little bit more practice with the guides, you should be able to take some of the hints and tips, and hopefully they'll improve. Try not to give yourself such a hard time. These types of things take a while to come in, but they do come in and they do get better over time. I guarantee you. Now, I used to hate philosophy, and now I love it. I love to do it. I love to watch it. I love to hear it. So take it from a girl who's been there, done that, and got the t-shirt and the scarf to go with it. It does and can get better. It just needs time, and practicing and doing it more will ultimately get you everything you want with that spiritual philosophy. One that a lot of people may say trance is also helpful with your philosophy as well, or with your mediumship. It helps you to have that bigger relationship with the spirit world. But for those who are just starting out, that may not be somewhere you need to be right now, but eventually it may be something you take a look at. And I've got to be honest, I love trance. It's one of my favorite things apart from mental mediumship. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do like, share and subscribe, as I said at the beginning. And hopefully I'll see you all later in the week. But it's bye-bye for now.